And so the times are changing. There's been a shift. And it's very important that we continue to wake people up. And so here's just one shocking thing that I bet your listeners have no idea about. The founding board member of Planned Parenthood, his name was Lothrop Stoddard. Let me say that again. The founding board member was Lothrop Stoddard. He held that position for years, serving under Margaret Sanger or for Margaret Sanger. And Lothrop Stoddard was none other than a high official of the Massachusetts KKK. He was actually their Grand Wizard. He was the Grand Wizard of the Massachusetts Ku Klux Klan, which that in itself kind of shocks people. They're like, there was a KKK in Massachusetts? Oh, yes, there was. And he was the Grand Wizard. His writings on racism were very influential, actually. He was kind of one of the intellectual godfathers of the KKK. Lothrop Stoddard wrote a book called The Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy. And he wrote another book called The Menace of the Underman. The Menace of the Underman. And you go, wait a second, who's the Underman? Who's the Underman? Well, for him, it was Blacks, Slavs, Italians, Jews, and the mentally and physically disabled. They were the Underman. And they're a menace, like Dennis the Menace. Like they're a menace to humanity and humankind. They need to go away. They need to stop having kids because it's not good for the creation of the super race, the superhuman, the Ubermenschen. Well, none other than Adolf Hitler, chief racial theorist, Alfred Rosenberg, which if you know your history, you know the name Alfred Rosenberg. He appropriated the German term Untermensch, from the English version of Lothrop Stoddard's book, The Menace of the Underman. And so that became the title of Heinrich Himmler's famous Nazi propaganda book, Der Untermensch. I recently bought the German translated version of Lothrop Stoddard's, Margaret Sanger's founding board member of Planned Parenthood, in German. There was one copy available in the whole world selling online for $350. It's the German translated version of the book that I just said, The Menace of the Underman. Sure enough, how did the Germans translate the English word underman? Untermensch. Untermensch, meaning subhuman, to refer to the Jews that they would exterminate. And historians believe that the Nazis did not begin to use the word Untermensch, Tony, until the publication of Lothrop Stoddard's book in German, which was already being featured in Nazi school textbooks. And he was later referred to by one of Hitler's henchmen, a man named Hans F. Gunther, whose writings on eugenics were very influential in the life of Hitler as well. Hans Gunther later referred to Lothrop Stoddard, Sanger's best friend, financier, and board member, as one of the spiritual fathers of Nazi Germany. And he met with Hitler in the Third Reich in 1939. Lothrop Stoddard is the only American to have had a one-on-one meeting with Hitler after he rose to power. Who is that again? The founding board member of Planned Parenthood, a position that he stayed in for years because Margaret Sanger loved him. That's just one of dozens of things you'll learn in the film and the book that have been hidden from you, Christian, because the Leviathan and his acolytes understand that if the church in America begins to understand how fundamentally theological and spiritual this battle has always been, they might start living differently, praying differently, and voting differently. So you need to understand what happened and how we got to this position so we can reverse engineer the sexual revolution with the awakened gospel prophetic voice of the people of God in America. So where can you get this information and wake up your church? Go to the1916project.com. The 1916project.com, the 1916project.com, and you can pre-order a copy of the book